What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the ARC Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Zachary. If you're new tuning in, thank you for joining. This is the Athletes Resilience Center podcast, where we talk all things mental performance in sports. We have an awesome episode for you this week. We interviewed Jack Barry, who is the owner and founder of Jack Barry Performance, where he is a coach for pitchers. We go into detail about his athletic career journey, starting in high school, then transitioning into playing at Division III powerhouse Salisbury. Then we go into his journey into trying to play independent baseball after college, playing pro ball, and then going into his transition into becoming a coach and how that all went. Throughout this whole conversation, Jack shares some great insights and perspective on mental performance in pitching, what makes some guys elite athletes, how to get the most out of your weaknesses within your game, and ultimately how to shift your perspective in order to get better every day and improve. Jack brought a lot of energy in this interview, and I'm really excited to be able to share this with you guys. So thank you guys for joining, and I hope you guys enjoy. Jack Barry, I'm extremely excited to have you on today, brother. How we doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, dude. I really appreciate you coming on. Really excited for the conversations that we're going to have today. Me being a pitching guy, I'm super amped, super excited. I think we can dive deep into a lot of different, both mental and physical sectors of the pitching game. So I'm excited for that. But we'll lead this off like we do every episode. So I'm just going to kick it right back to you, and I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself and go through your journey of how you've gotten to where you are today.
Sure. So I'm Jack Barry. I am 28 years old, originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I grew up obviously playing baseball, a lot of it, travel ball, did that whole deal, Ripken tournaments, and progressed into the opportunity to be able to get through high school and played well enough to get some interest in different college levels, and eventually settled on Division III Salisbury, which was the first kind of slashing of my D1-itis, which I don't even know if that's still a term that people use, but it was really humbling to get there and thinking that I was kind of above the D1 or the D3 level at some point, thinking like, oh, I'm just going to go D1.
Yeah.
And then, our Friday guys, 94, 96, National Player of the Year. Our Saturday guys, like 88 to 92. And, we're competing for national championships. And you see that college baseball, it has very, very thin boundaries between talent levels, especially when you get to like summer ball, the wood bat leagues and stuff. So I had a great experience there, won a lot of games, loved the school, it was close to home, formed lifelong friendships that I still maintain to this day and will until I'm 6 feet under the sod. After my senior year, I didn't play as well as I probably wanted to in order to continue my career past the college level. And so I started just looking for opportunities to do that. And one of the strong suits that I had as a player, even though the ball might not have found the first baseman's glove all the time, was arm strength. And so I was like, well, I did some pitching, and I have somewhat of a naturally talented arm with no pitching coach, no mechanical guy. Like I had great pitching coaches growing up, just, more on the mental side, more on the performance side, which I think is probably where some of my philosophy comes from, but no like mechanical help, no plyo balls, none of that. And so I had a friend who was starting to train as a pitcher throughout this time because we were kind of in the same boat. Like, we're not done. We have juice left in the tank here. And so we would throw and long toss, and I would kind of just help him out. One day I just kind of stopped. I was like, well, I'm going to these workouts or I'm going to these pro ball games, and there's, 12 to 15 guys in the bullpen, and they carry 5 infielders. But like odds game wise, if I'm giving myself the best opportunity to really continue this thing, like, why don't I try and do that? Because I know how to do it. And the fact that I've been able to have success without any kind of training behind it shows me that there might be some potential there. So I went, from dipping my toe into the side of the pitching world to just diving headfirst in, started working with a remote company, with a remote coach, and then eventually actually ended up working for that remote company. I'm not ashamed to say it. Like, I work for Tread. And so, did that for about a year and a half. A lot of respect for those guys, gained a lot of knowledge. And then, with growing companies, startups, there's going to be growing pains and just different hats you need to wear. And so I left amicably, shook hands, and said, I'm going to try some different stuff. Majored in broadcast journalism in college, thought I wanted to do that, tried it. Wasn't, once you see how the sausage is made, sometimes you get the harsh reality, and you go vegan. And so that's kind of what I did there. But the cool thing about that is that it allowed for me to parlay that skill and just that area of interest for myself into sales and marketing, and then also learning how to build a business, and what I'm doing now, which is the love I had for the training side, the expertise I had on the baseball side, the pitching side, and then also just building skills around writing, talking behind a microphone, being on camera, being comfortable in those different areas that are able to support, a successful business, and just being able to help people, being able to help people who were in a similar spot to me. And I think that those are the best businesses, as far as the ones that are sustainable and have longevity, is the ones that have like a genuine connection to the product, and ones that the founders, they started out of a place of their own suffering and their own misery, which is very much myself. I didn't know what to do. I grew up a fat kid. I didn't know what to do training wise, didn't know anything about nutrition, diet, sleep, light, environment, relationships, how to communicate effectively, any of those things. And so I was like, well, now that I have the skill set and the experience of knowing what to do and what not to do, or what works and what does not for different types of individuals, I'm just going to provide as much value as possible. And it's allowed for me to, accomplish one of my goals, which is to have palm trees outside my window. I got one right there. Be able to take my dog to the beach, have summer for 10, 11 months out of the year. It snowed the second week I got here, but, it's a once in an 8-year storm, but, I'm just very lucky and blessed. And, I can't, say enough about like the support system that I have: parents, family, friends, people that just thought I could do it even during times that I couldn't, myself. And so, I think that was pretty brief. I didn't have a timer on, but that's kind of the synopsis. Yeah.
That was good. I feel like that was brief and thorough at the same time. It was perfect. I think you hit the nail on the head there. But nice. Now let's take it back to high school Jack, because I think you said something that I think isn't unique just to your experience, but you referenced it as D1itis, and I think I had the same exact thing. You have this idea of yourself probably as like a freshman or sophomore in high school, where I think even as a freshman in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna go play college baseball at like Florida or UNC, and I'm like 5'3" at the time, 125 pounds, like throwing 74. It's like, okay, let's pump the brakes there. But what did that, like, I guess, realization look like for you? Because I think people go in two different ways. At least, growing up, what I saw was like they realize they can't play at the D1 level, and they're like, well, I guess it's not worth playing anymore. And then other people are like, I can't play at the D1 level at this moment, but that kind of fires me up to like continue to get better, go to a school where I can get the time that I need, and progress and work and become basically the best player that I can become. Like, what did that, I guess, transition look like for you from high school going into college? Because I know for me, even when I was going to my Division III school, I still had this idea in my head almost going in, like, almost that I underperformed enough to go to the D3 school, if that makes sense, where like, it's like, oh, I think I could go D1, but then I go to the D3 school, first year, I get 6 innings on the mound, and it's like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, what was that wake-up call like for you?
Yeah, it didn't really hit me until probably like that first practice, or that first day stepping on campus, being, hairless faced, I don't even know if that's the correct term, 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And walking up and seeing like grown men, like, 22, 23, our center fielder, my freshman year, was 25, I think, who like played football at Central Michigan at one point, and he just did like the bounce around thing before the bounce around thing was even a thing.
Yeah.
But I think the number one driver of me making that decision and kind of like really nipping that D1-itis in the bud was walking into Coach Brohan, who was my head coach at Salisbury for my 4 years. He played on the 2001 Diamondbacks World Series team.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so consciously or subconsciously, just maybe because he likes it for decoration, but it's the first thing you see when you walk into his office is his World Series jersey. He's wearing his ring. He
It's a
shakes
good
your
sales
hand.
pitch.
He's got like signed bats from Barry Bonds, being like, you know, you had my number, because he literally was the Barry Bonds killer. I don't think Barry Bonds, he's one of like 2 pitchers that Barry Bonds throughout his career never got a hit off of, or some crazy stat. I
Yeah,
don't
something
know.
nuts.
People can look it up. Just look up like Troy Brohan, Barry Bonds, whatever. But like, he just destroyed him. Like, lefty specialist, never threw above 88 miles an hour, and Barry Bonds just could not hit him. But like, he knew ball, and Coach Sires knew ball, the associate head coach, and like, we had guys who were playing in the Cape coming back from that summer. We had guys who were playing in the Coastal Plains. We had, you know, they were fresh off of a World Series appearance. They had made 2 or 3 more in the previous 5 years before that. They had made a regional for 20 straight years. And so they really sold me on like winning and competing and just like playing a good brand of baseball. A couple of the other D1 schools, and I won't name any names, just, you know, not to put them down, but like,
Yeah.
those schools that I was looking at were not winning programs.
Yeah.
It was like,
Right.
and I would talk to like summer ball coaches or people that were in the recruiting space, or guys that even like were playing college baseball at the time. And they were like, okay, like D1, cool. You get a free shirt, free pair of shorts, batting gloves, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. You're going to go down to Alex Box Stadium at LSU and get the, you know what, kicked out of you for 3
Yeah,
games to start the year.
destroyed.
But at the end of the day, like, you're not going to see the field without snow on it until late April, and you're going to lose 40 games a year.
Yeah.
And there's going to be turmoil within the team. There's going to be staff turnover. Guys will
Right.
transfer. You might lose your love of the game within a 6-month time period. And I really thought about it, and I was like, I played on winning teams in high school, growing up,
Right.
travel ball, like, and I was like, winning is like fun. Winning is number one.
Yep.
Just
Oh,
as it
big
relates
time.
to the game, right? Obviously, like, you want to build relationships, and obviously
Of
you
course.
want to just enjoy the camaraderie, the training,
Right.
and just the industriousness behind being a college athlete. But at the same time, it's like, losing sucks. I hate losing. And winning does make everything better, you know?
Of course.
People
Yeah.
can, you know, chastise me for that, whatever they want, but like, winning does solve a lot of issues. It really does, within like a team turmoil type perspective.
Big time. Yeah.
And so I think that if guys were able to shift their mindset towards being able to like, where am I going to get opportunities to play and contribute and win? That's kind of like the trifecta, because if you're able to contribute on a winning team too, you don't care if you're called on to lay down a bunt in the 7th inning and that's your
Right.
only appearance for the entire weekend, or you're the guy that's going 8 innings on a Saturday because you need to take the second game of the series in order to make sure you can get into the conference tournament, whatever the case may be. And so that was kind of a multi-pronged answer, but those are really the biggest things that allowed for me to say, like, I don't care about how many numerals are on the back of the D. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just want to
of
play
course.
good competitive baseball, and the opportunities that I want are going to come and find me if I do my job. And
Big
they did, you know, it was like,
Yeah.
still had opportunities to play professional ball, still got invited to pre-draft workouts, still was able to go and play in the Ripken, the Valley,
Right.
the Coastal Plains, whichever, you know? And so if you're a good enough player, they'll find you.
No,
That's the reality.
I completely agree. And I mean, I had a very, very similar experience with that, where you kind of look yourself in the face in, you know, high school. And I was a very late bloomer. Like, I'd say junior year of high school, I was probably 78 to 80 off the mound. And then I came back senior year, and I think by the end of the year, I was sitting like 86, 88, topping 89. Like, I had a pretty significant jump. And then that summer, so going into college, I had committed to my Division III school, the College of New Jersey, and like looking forward to going there. I still played travel ball on the team that I had played for the previous summer, because I was like, this is the coach that I want to play for. Like, had an amazing experience with that program. So I was like, I want to keep playing. Like, most of the guys who were already committed were also on the same boat. I was like, we could win a lot of games in the summer and win, and this would be, really cool. This would be fun. And we would go and travel still. So we went down to like Virginia Tech, VCU. We played at NC State, and I started getting a bunch of D1 interest very late, like going into school. I actually got a tour to Virginia Tech going into my freshman year of college. And,
Nice.
I'm sitting there. My girlfriend and I had just been dating, who is now my wife. And we were dating for like 6 months. Her sister was going to Virginia Tech just to go to school. And I remember like I'm getting the tour, the ego's getting boosted a little bit. But then, the conversation comes up and they're like, you could come be a preferred walk on and your spot's guaranteed in the fall, but like spring, it's kind of performance based. You never know what's going to happen. And then, I'm kind of sitting there like, wait a minute, like I'm going to this school where they've already bought into me before even knowing that, like, at that point, it's a D3 school. They didn't come out and watch me in the summer going into, freshman year of college. It's like they probably don't even know at this point that I've like touched 90. I've gotten to a point where I never had before. And it's like they've already, bought into me as a player and me as a guy and, have had great conversations with me. And now a lot of these schools that are like the Division I school that, to me as the high school kid was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. But you take a look at it, and I remember my coach was like, well, what are the conversations you're having? What are like the verbiages that they're using with you? Because it's different if they're like, we have a scholarship for you. It magically came up out of thin air. Like, here you go. And like, we want you to come. But the conversations were all like preferred walk on, preferred walk on. And it's like, I guess there is a certain extent to like, you do want to bet on yourself and see what you can do. But also, where are the opportunities going to come where I can succeed the most, So at the end of the day, the Virginia Tech one kind of fizzled out. They were like, it's too close to school. We can't get you in anyway. So it was like, all right, well, how bad did they really want to put me on the team? I don't know. I got a tour out of it, so that was really cool.
Yeah.
But a lot of those other schools, the conversation, I think my mindset was like very, I don't know, faded going into that. And I think I was of the camp of like, oh, if a D1 school came in, I'd probably jump ship and go there because like, it's cool. It's a D1
Yeah.
school that came and got you. But looking back at it, the best possible decision I could have made was going to the College of New Jersey. I had a very similar experience as you. We won a lot of games. I got the opportunity to be a starter on the team, which was fantastic. Like, and I had a great experience. Like, a lot of those guys from my team are my best friends. Like, guys who were at my wedding, I was at all their weddings. Like, it's incredible. So I feel like the perspective that you shared with, I don't know, switching that from the D1itis to being like, dude, it's about going to a place that you're going to get the most opportunities where you can make the most out of it is the most important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's become very transactional,
Yeah,
with the NIL
big time.
stuff. And I had
Yeah.
a tweet about this yesterday, but it's just like too many guys focus on what they can take, not what they can give.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And
Yeah.
as it relates to a lot of like the recruiting pitches that I was receiving,
Yeah.
the coaches that I really liked and the schools that I was most interested in, they were talking about how I could contribute to the team. Like,
Right.
hey, we
Yes.
need you to do this. We
Right.
need you to come in and play excellent defense, be able
Right.
to situationally hit, be able to be a leader, use your energy, use your
Yeah.
confidence, like those types of things.
Yeah.
And then the other opportunities that were like, they look great. It was like, yeah, here's the field. How's it, And,
Yeah.
hey, you're a pretty good player. You think you could, you think maybe you could like catch, or maybe you could play some outfield for us, or,
Yeah.
it was just kind of like passive,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Big time.
but like you want to go somewhere that you're wanted, because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
incentivizes you to be like, these guys need me. Like this team needs me. They need me to work my tail off. They need me to be at my best every single day, because like we have a job to do and we have an objective to accomplish. At the other schools, it's just like, oh, like I need to beat out this guy, or like
Yep.
they need to see
Yeah.
this, or like I'm going to do this selfishly because like I know it's going to elevate me above this guy. And so that's where it gets really, really just not the brand of baseball, not the brand of athlete that you want to be, and not the kind of team that really has a lot of success, in my opinion. Not even in my opinion, just that's the reality.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, I mean, that's a great point. Just saying like, the school that you go to, you should feel like you are being sold when you get there, as in like you as the player, what you can do to impact the program,
Mm-hmm.
not what the program can do to impact you. Like
Mm-hmm.
just thinking back to a lot of the conversations I've even heard with kids that I've coached, right? It's like, well, the preferred walk-on conversation. You're guaranteed in the fall, but nothing's guaranteed in the spring. You got to prove to us what's going on. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can get like the school logo on my shirt and I can come home in winter break and be like, there's still a chance in the spring I'm coming back. Like
Right.
I'm all up for a challenge, but at the end of the day, if you want to go to a school with the culture of winning, it's okay, I fit in within this program, within the bounds of what they're trying to do, and I'm going to help big time. Like
Mm-hmm.
they see me in that vision of where they want to be over the next 4 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's like invaluable.
Yeah. The rose-colored glasses, they lose their tint when you're wearing like, whatever, Power 5 school
Yep.
baseball with
Yeah.
whatever brand sponsorship is
Yeah.
underneath it on the
Yeah.
shirt, and then somebody
Yeah.
comes up and asks like, "Oh, do you play there?" And you're like, "Well, I used to.
Yeah, I did for a fall.
I was for a fall. I was there for a fall. Yeah."
Right.
You know, what's really cool is like when you're wearing TCNJ, Salisbury, when you're wearing like one of these schools, didn't you guys just win a regional? Didn't you
Yeah.
guys just win a conference championship?
Yeah.
Like, didn't you guys just win?
Yep.
Or you're wearing like the conference championship shirt, the World Series shirt, like that's stuff that nobody could take away from you. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that like, yeah, like, and I've had guys like, I had guys that I coach give me, apparel from like whatever their Division One
course.
school is. I trade them a little Be Sexy shirt for it just because like it is cool.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like, it's a shirt, man.
It's
It's
a
a
shirt.
logo. It's a shirt. It's a
It's a
shirt. It's
shirt.
not an experience. It's a thing.
Right.
And we know as we get older, you and I both, and I think maybe some of the younger guys will have to realize this retrospectively, and some people can even think about this in their own lives. Like things lose their allure very quickly, but experiences is just like those are the things that you look back on. And you're like, that was awesome. That was a great time. You talk about the weddings that you've went to.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that season of life as well,
Yeah.
to where
Yeah.
like all my former teammates are getting married. I unfortunately have to miss one here in a couple weeks of one of my other good teammates, but like, that beats me up because like
Yeah,
that's the
of
kind of
course.
stuff that you don't get back, and you only see those guys every once in a while, and like that's the stuff you have to be chasing. It's not the instant gratification, it's not the stuff, it's not the things, not the NIL, it's not the money, but like man, like more guys they need to pursue that. They need to, because otherwise they're just going to be sad and unfulfilled by the time their experience playing the game is done.
No, exactly. And looking back at like even my recruiting class going into TCNJ, I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to talk about success and what that kind of looks like at that level, like in my recruiting class alone, we had two guys that were all Americans. We had, I guess, four of us were all region players. We had two conference players of the year, one pitcher of the year, two pitchers of the year. Like really dialed in and successful group of guys. And I'm sure in high school there were opportunities where it's like you could go play at this mid-major D1 and get 10 innings a year. But at the end of the day, what does that do if you're not building towards something and creating a successful culture? Like the proudest thing I am of my time there was my freshman year, we were a 500 team. By my senior year, we had been to 3 straight regionals. We had won our conference championship, which is the NJAC, very tough. Just shouting that out there. D3
Yeah.
bowlers know.
Yeah.
And like really transformed the program. But it takes a group of guys that are all bought in and, like you said, had that experience of, okay, how do I fit within this scope of a successful Division III program? And at the end of the day, we would scrimmage teams like Princeton in the fall. Like we would scrimmage some JUCO powerhouses, and we would, like, quite frankly, we would smack them around a little bit in the fall, right? Like we were a solid program. But again, at the end of the day, it's like when you come home from fall break, or like we can get into this too, but like I went to a couple indie ball tryouts and I have the TCNJ shirt on and they're like, what school is that? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah. And then you see a kid who's got like a Duke shirt on, and then they come up to him and it's like, did you play at Duke? And they're like, yeah, one season, and then I transferred to like my Division II by my house and whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, what sounds better? You know what I mean? It's like you either went somewhere for 4 years and had your career where you were a part of something, or it's like
Hmm.
we're jumping around a little bit back and forth. Obviously, the landscape of today's game is a little bit different with the NIL and transfer rules, but still,
Hmm.
it's like the same kind of idea.
I like I've adopted, if I ever do go back into like in-person coaching at one point,
Yeah.
no logo apparel. You have to kind of earn that, and we did that my last 2 years of
I
school. You have to
Yeah,
earn
I like
your
that.
logoed apparel. But the
Yeah.
quote that made me think that I thought of when you said that was, "When you're good at something, you'll tell everyone. When you're great at something, they'll tell you."
Yep. Yo,
And
big
I
time.
always thought about like those guys that would show up to those types of workouts with a plain black t-shirt on, tucked
Yeah.
into their pants.
Yeah.
Also, a player sent me a video of him throwing a bullpen with an untucked shirt the other day.
Oh,
If I ever see a player with an untucked shirt on a baseball field, he is going home.
yeah.
And we're going to have a very serious, firm conversation before he is able to step back on the field.
Yeah.
Besides the fact, it's like you want to make them come up to you and ask, like, "What's your deal, man?
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? Where'd you play your college ball?"
Right.
It's like Mark Wahlberg in Invincible, right? Where'd you play your
Yeah.
college ball?
Yeah.
Where'd you play your college ball,
Yeah.
Vince? I didn't play college ball.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, you just ran one of the fastest 40s. You ran a 4.5." You know, like that's the cool stuff. Like the silent killer. It is literally the silent killer. You don't talk with your words, your deals, your apparel. You talk with your stick. You talk with your running, your glove, your arm, whatever the case may be.
Listen, I completely agree with that, and it's like the smallest dogs typically are the loudest.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? Like they're the
Oh
chirpiest.
yeah.
They're the little the guys that'll nip you on your heel. Um, but I think you brought up a good point about like the gear, like not having a logo, having to earn that. I know Vanderbilt is a big program that utilizes that. I
Hmm.
think it is such like a unique concept, and I kind of like it because again, it's like one, you kind of gotta earn that logo, but two, it also helps athletes kind of disassociate themselves with like the logo itself. I know
Hmm.
that sounds like very, I don't know, philosophical, but it's just like, you're wearing the Vanderbilt V, and I'm sure everyone on campus, if you're wearing it, it's like, oh, you're on the team, like, oh, like
Hmm.
baseball program, great. And like if you go through a whole fall where you're just, an average Joe walking around with like your stuff, you kind of gain that sense of humility that you kind of need, where it's like now when you have the V on your chest, you kind of earn that rather than just it was given to you immediately. I think that's a really cool kind of concept.
Yeah, and you're not in the stat book either.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like what have you done for us? Nothing.
Nothing.
That's the one thing that every senior class, I think, up until maybe my senior year, we probably still said it too. But it was like
Yeah,
we'd say to the younger guys, first team meeting, first team gathering on or off campus would be like, you haven't done anything for the program. So, like, stop acting like you're going to be the starting shortstop day one, hit leadoff, and, you know, the Brewers are going to call you and be like, "Hey, we want to take you in the first round." You're like,
right.
"Do you realize? Like, do you have that dosage of reality yet?" No, you don't. So sit down, put your head down, put the work in, and then if you do that, maybe you'll get where you want to go. Because that's the experience that all of us have already gone through, and so we're just trying to save you the time and the headache to think that you have to be delusional about this for the next 6 months, and then reality smacks you in the face when you're not even on the roster come springtime.
Right. Yeah. I think that's kind of the level of standard you have to set for being a program like that. Like Salisbury, you guys are every year like fighting for a regional spot, top of the top, right? Like fighting for a World Series. Didn't you guys won a World Series pretty recently, right?
I did not, but yes, 2021 was the
Yeah.
national championship year.
True.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
like
yeah,
that's a national championship program, and that's the standard you guys are setting, right?
hmm
So
yeah,
obviously there is, a method to the madness there where some people might be like that might seem a little harsh, but again, like the ideology of putting in your time to be able to like earn the spot that you need to earn, I think is like super valuable.
hmm it's all got to be earned.
All got to be.
Every single piece of it. Like, no, yeah, it's it is. I don't even know what the phrase I'm looking for is.
Yeah.
Like, you could trade motivational, inspirational quotes all day, but it's just
Yeah.
like you literally have to earn it.
Right.
Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's the meal after practice. Doesn't matter if it's the meal after the game for that matter. Because like we had a couple of those where like we definitely did not earn Chick-fil-A sandwiches today, but they're sitting on the bus here, you know.
Yeah, I know. My coach in college, I think it was maybe my sophomore year. I remember when we would win, we'd get either like a Chipotle or Moe's or like Wawa on the way home, and it was like, oh, this is great. And then when we lost, we'd get like Wendy's, and it's like you're just sitting in the bus, like, oh, you feel like filth already, like you guys just lost a bad game, and it's like, oh, all right, like we got to earn the Chipotle and Moe's after the game, like we gotta come correct next weekend.
Wendy's is still a very respectable establishment, I will say. Fresh never frozen beef, like our lost meal was Papa John's. And after like being dirty and sweaty, the last thing you want is a pizza.
It's a pizza that's just going to make you sweat even more. You're going to get the greasy sweats.
Yep, terrible.
But I think the ideology of having to earn something kind of leads us into this next, I guess, venture in your life, which was going from collegiate athlete, right, to trying to play indie ball. And I can feel for you there because I went to countless indie ball tryouts and they're tough. And our co-host Matt, he was also a position player, first baseman. And I will say, from your perspective, like you said, looking at the teams, and it's like you got 15 arms in the pen, you got 5 infielders maybe, and you know that's not even counting the guys on the infield that just play first base, right? Aren't flexible to play anywhere else. So it's like you really have maybe 3 or 4 infielders, truthfully. You know, those tryouts are tough, and you really got to have like a tool or 2 tools to stand out in order to kind of get the, I guess, attention of any of those coaches. What did that experience look like for you? Because obviously you had the passion and desire to pursue it and try to play like beyond the collegiate level.
Yeah, or the personal phone number of one of the coaches on the staff. That helps too. You know? No, I think the first workout I went to, it was like 150. Me and that same guy that I was talking about that was doing like the pitching training, we went up there. It was for formerly the Rockland Boulders. Now I think they're the New York Boulders. I don't even know if they are they still a Frontier League team?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, yeah. So we were up there. It's the middle of the season, obviously, so they have a full roster built out.
Right.
And I think they were looking for 1, maybe 2 guys. And there was 165 guys to work out.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And I think we paid $150, $200. Something.
Of course.
We stayed at like a friend of a friend's house in the basement. They had twin trundle beds, whatever. So yeah, but it was humbling, you know. And it makes you realize that like there are some politics involved, sure, but like if you are a stocking stuffer righty with, you know, average stuff and there's no outlier qualities about you, or if you're a 22 to 23-year-old average running, average power, average arm strength, which you kind of realize when you leave your echo chamber, middle infielder, corner infielder, like there's just not a spot for you.
No.
You know, like that's not what they're looking for at the professional level. And then you look at some of the rosters and it's like, well, why is that guy on the team? Why is that guy on the team? Okay, well, that guy's got 5 years of big league service time. So they kind of have to take him no matter how bad of a player he is right now because he self-sabotaged his way into playing independent ball. Or that guy's dad owns the company that has that big logo on the top of the stadium. So, like, he's going to have a spot on the roster.
Right.
That's literally like the coach's son. I had that experience at independent ball. That was crazy.
Yeah,
so like literally we're playing daddy ball here in professional baseball.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like everything else. There's going to be politics involved. And unless you are unequivocally skilled and you have just like this undeniability behind your skill set, first off, you're probably not going to find your way at one of those workouts because they're going to find you before you find them. And 2, it's like you don't have much of a shot. You're helping to pay for a post-game meal that isn't the burgers and dogs from the snack bar. You're helping to pay for the clubbies. You're helping to pay for the staff. You're helping to pay for whatever the case may be. It's the same thing with showcases to a certain extent. The only difference with showcases is that like there's probably a little bit of a larger pool that can be could be like pulled from as far as like your opportunities, because a lot of those are open forum, at least based on the perspective that I have. We have 50 coaches here. We have 60 coaches here, 70, whatever, which is good for the schools because it's a one-stop shop. It's also a good opportunity for the players themselves. But yeah, man, when it gets to professional ball, they're probably going to find you before you find them. I'm dealing with it now. You know, there's guys that want to like get into a league.
Yeah.
Maybe they go to a workout and they get an opportunity and they're there and they catch the scissors. And then there's guys that like
Right.
they transition out of affiliate ball and then they have like 20 independent contracts just kind of like waiting at the door, like because there's a queue, I guess. I'm like like I'm setting not like a physical queue, but I'm just basically like, hey, this is so-and-so from this is so-and-so from this. Like literally the second they get released, like telepathically, they're like, oh, that guy's available. It's just like inbox. Yeah. So that's just the stuff that guys have to realize if they are going to try and make that a reality.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and you just have to know the game you're playing as well. You know, I think being delusionally confident to a certain extent is very valuable. You just have to be you have to have the confidence for one in your skill set, but then two, you also have to have the proof that your skill set works.
Right.
And it's a lot easier to do that now in like a coaching sense and a business sense to like have that delusional belief of like, I can do X, Y, and Z because I've done it before. If I was to sit here and say like, oh, I could go and pitch for the Yankees right now, like that'd be pretty freaking stupid, you know, because I don't have that stack of proof to say that I can get professional hitters out, you know? So
of course.
Yeah.
No, I think it's also a unique perspective because, you know, you had that jump from high school to collegiate ball, and then there's just that another jump from collegiate ball to pro ball because you're like, oh, I was good in college. Like this should just transfer right over into pro ball. And it's like, oh my God, everyone can do this. Right. It's like, like you're saying, if you don't have that one tool that's going to stand out, like you're just another guy. Why would they take you over a guy they have on their team already who does the same things as you, except he has 3 seasons under his belt where he's proven he can actually do it at the professional level too. It's like, it's just a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
But I guess like now, you know, coaching and getting into coaching, right? Like what do you as the coach kind of tell your guys if they're kind of going through that experience? Like one, I think it's valuable you kind of had that experience, but two, like, you know, at the end of the day, like we're as athletes not trying to, I guess, focus so much on the outcomes as much as you are your process, right? Like goals are fantastic. I love goals. I think they're important. But at the end of the day, the most important thing are going to be the process you have put in place, right? So I guess from your perspective, right, like if guys are putting in their work and like not seeing the, you know, desired outcome that they want right away, how do you kind of, I guess, mitigate that and help like them navigate that themselves internally?
I try to make sure that guys understand what deliberate practice really is.
Yeah.
Because like the instant sort of like flashy like work mindset to where guys can just like kind of Goggins their way through things. It just doesn't work for like a skill set. Like, yes, if you are trying to run 100 miles, like, progressively overloading to the point of being able to run 100 miles will work. And you can't kind of like brute force your way there. But when it comes to something skill based that you're trying to like provide value to an organization, and that expands beyond the boundary lines of like sports, you know, like you're going to encounter that in the workforce.
Yeah.
I try to make sure that guys understand that. It's like, especially as it relates to pro ball, college to a certain extent, like you are going to go through an intense developmental phase and a self-discovery process to figure out like what is the unique thing that I can provide. Because like when you're in high school, especially, you're probably the best player on your team or one of the best. And you do everything more exceptionally well than 95% of the players on the field. You know, when you get to college, that margin shrinks and there's going to be the first baseman that can only play first that just hits the crap out of the ball, can't field worth a lick, but he's in the lineup because he hits. You know, there's going to be the guy that comes out of the pen, throws really hard. He'll walk a guy, he'll K a guy, he'll walk a guy, K a guy, and he'll get out of the inning with the bases loaded, you know, not letting a ball in play. So just like understanding what your skill set is and what you're good at and what you're not, and then dialing in the unique skill set that you do have and like capitalizing on that and really making that like your point of emphasis. And then any of the weaker points that are starting to like pull or take away from what you do well, trying to just make those as good as they can be, because like you can relate it to the buckets, you can relate it to like the MLB The Show markers or whatever they call that thing, to where it's like, it's never all going to be at 100. Like you're going to have some things that are at 96, some things that are at 85, some things that are at like 45. You know, like your speed might be 45, your throwing might be 96, but like the more that you can just say like, okay, I need to keep this at 96 here. Like trying to get that last 5%, it's like trying to take a 315 bench to 330. Like at some point the gains are arbitrary. It's not going to help you in the long run. But if you can get, you know, if you can knock off 0.4 of a second on your 60 time, or you can increase your throwing velocity by 3 to 4 miles an hour, like that is the difference between being a really good college player and a professional player. And then like you can add the additional 2 or 3 on the back end. That's the difference between being like a professional pitcher and a good professional pitcher, or like an independent pitcher and an affiliate pitcher, you know? And so I make sure that guys understand that. It's like, what are you offering to the organization? Like, what can you do that is going to make you unique and different and provide actual value? Because if you're looking at a roster or you're looking at a box score, it's not going to tell you much. But if you're looking at the entire skill set, if you're looking at data, TrackMan data, if you're looking at physically, like where are you at? If you're looking at how you present yourself, like, okay, now with teams trying to make more money, like, do you have an online presence? Can you do like marketing work? Can you, you know, talk to the media well? Like there's so many different avenues that you can take, and there's so much opportunity out there. And and I'll wrap this up after this, but like, that's how I want guys to see. Like, I get messages from guys, and I got one yesterday. It kind of prompted some new ideas for me, but it's just like, guys are so wrapped up in like who they are as a player, and what they don't do well. And they think like, oh, I'm struggling with this, or like, you know, as it relates to mechanics, and maybe this is the pot calling the kettle black, but it's just like, oh, I'm doing this thing mechanically wrong, or I'm doing this exercise wrong, or like, why can I not do this? And I'm just like, you see these things as problems, not opportunities. Right. That's the first issue, you know?
Big time.
Like, unless you are literally dealing with an unrecoverable injury or like a terminal illness, all of these things are opportunities for you to say like, oh, well, I'm glad this happened now when I'm 14 and not when I'm 23 and my career is literally over. Right. You know, like if I can address this now, I still have the opportunity to have 7 to 8 years of baseball beyond me, and even past that.
Yeah.
But if I didn't identify that, like, what would have happened if that happened at 20, 21, 22? Because that does happen to specific guys. And at that point, they're just like, well, shoot, what do I do now? And the ref blows the whistle and your career's over. Right.
I think that was a great point about like the identity of players too. Like the ego does come into play where, you know, I think I was one of these guys as well, but a lot of people that I've played with, it's like, well, like I throw hard, but I don't throw a lot of strikes. Like I'm effectively wild. And it's like, okay, well, like control is also a skill. It's not just a thing where it's like you have it or you don't. Like you can work on that. And if you're just kind of writing yourself off, like your identity is just, I throw hard and throw a lot of balls. Like at the end of the day, you're excluding a piece of your game that you could be working on, a piece of your skill set that you can kind of like acquire, if that makes sense. Like attaching yourself to the identity of those specific things is like crazy. Or on the flip side, I don't throw very hard, but I throw a ton of strikes. And it's like, okay, well, how much are you putting into your effort to throw harder, right? Like, what does your velocity training look like? What does your strength program look like? Like all of the other variables that get involved in it is so, I guess, crazy to think about identity-wise. I have a crazy comparison to this. When I was coaching 12U baseball, I had a kid on my team who didn't throw that hard, but his ball just had like natural arm side run. It was great. And as a young kid, a lot of kids would swing and get on top of the baseball and hit ground balls. So we're pitching him in a tournament, and one of the dad comes up, not even his dad, another dad said, why are you pitching this kid this game? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, we're on a dirt field. And I was like, I don't know what that has to do with anything. Can you, like, what's going on? He's like, he's a ground ball pitcher. I'm like, we're going to put a label on this kid at 12 years old, like that he's now a ground ball pitcher, and he's going to go through the next 5 years into high school thinking I'm a ground ball pitcher. Like, that's just the craziest thing in my head. Like, it doesn't even make sense, you know, but attaching yourself to these identities that aren't really like real or there, I think is like really unique.
Yeah, and there's there's counterpoints you can make to that, I think, because like when I was growing up, one thing that really like kept me coming back, or one thing that I really sort of like stoke my my skill set on was the fact that I had coaches come up to me and I would get frustrated because like maybe I didn't have the best stuff, didn't throw as hard
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as some other players, but they would say, but like the reason that we throw you for these games is like because you get better as the game goes on.
Mm,
And so I was like,
yeah.
yeah, you know, like I'm holding up my fours,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm getting better at like in the sixth, seventh inning when you think you got me, like that's when
Yeah.
I'm at my best, you know? So like that's empowering for a young player to like
Yeah,
have that
definitely.
identity. And if you can relate it back to even like a guy that they like watching, you know? Like I didn't know who Brooks Robinson was, but when my buddy's dad started calling me Hoovervac Brooks
Yeah.
Robinson over at third base, I was like looking up clips on YouTube and
Yeah,
I'm putting him
yeah.
as my phone background. Like George Brett. I remember
Yeah.
there was like he's calling me George Brett. Like now I love George Brett. And so it's like that stuff fueled me, you know? Like and I'd never watched these guys play a day in my life. But then
No.
you start to dive into the and like figure out like, oh, they were good players and they had this unique skill set and they did these things well and they didn't do this well. And so it's like you can have that sort of be like your pseudo identity or like your kind of
Yeah.
goal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank again on what that term would technically be called, but like your like idol, I guess, to a certain
Yeah. Yeah.
extent, or like someone you look up to
Right.
necessarily. And that can allow for you to maybe just find some drive to stay in the game and like use that
Yeah.
unique skill set instead of trying to be the Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Because like you're not
Right.
going to be. You're not
Right.
going to run fast, throw hard, and hit nukes. You're probably going to be able to maybe do one of those things. Like there
Yeah.
are so few true 5, 6 tool players now, you know? So yeah, I think that's important too.
Yeah. I think that's also a really good point. Like, I feel like with the identity thing, it's got to be based in kind of like the empowering beliefs rather than the limiting ones, if that makes
For
sense,
sure.
right? Like,
Absolutely, yeah.
like uh, oddly enough, I saw a clip. It was Bert Kreischer talking about his time when he played baseball as a younger
God.
kid,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Which is crazy, just that sentence. But he was talking about it, and he kind of said the same thing you said. He said, "I would come up to bat, and when it was like in the late innings, I would always get nervous as a kid, like 10 through 12." And then his dad would say, "Buddy, why are you nervous? You always come up in the clutch." And he was like, "I do." Like he never had the experience that
Yeah.
he does. He's just like, "I do." And then he's like, throughout his brief athletic career through high school, he's like, "That's what I was like known for." But
Hmm.
that belief wasn't there until my dad kind of instilled that in me based on no facts whatsoever. But then from that moment on, I'm like, wait a minute. In these moments, this is where I thrive. I'm good under pressure. Like, put
Hmm.
me in those spots. It's just very crazy how the mind works like that.
Yeah, you can have whatever idea you want of yourself, but until somebody outside of you verbalizes it, you're
Right.
not like you won't identify with it. You'll say like, "Oh, like I'm this, that, like I'm so charismatic, I'm so funny,
Yeah.
I have so much energy, whatever." But like until my tennis coach now, he comes up to me, he's like, "How's the machine today?" And I'm like, I am a machine. Like I'm 28 years old and I have this like childlike enthusiasm for
Yeah.
like practice and training and clinics
Right.
and things like that. It's just who we are. Like we like hearing positive things about ourselves, and that's where positive reinforcement becomes a very empowering driver. You can relate this back to the winning teams thing. You can relate it back to the everything gets better when you're winning type thing. But yeah, like nobody wants to hear the Mike Eruzione like you're not gonna be on the team if you can't put the puck in the net, Mike.
Of course.
Like that type of thing. Like they want
Of
to hear
course.
like, hey, we need you. Like, hey, you are an energy bus. You are an
Yes.
energy giver. Like you
Yeah.
provide a lot of value because
Yeah.
that's pouring into others, and then that's when you can receive that back as that authoritative figure to be like, I can use these guys.
Of course.
You know.
Shifting into kind of another mental perspective that I really admire from you is kind of your ideology of like be sexy. You show off the back of the shirt right there.
Yeah. Come on.
Let's go.
See it?
I love it. We see it. Yeah.
There you go.
So this ideology of be sexy, right? I'd love you to go into depth about kind of what it means and why it's important to you and the brand of coaching that you're trying to implement.
So there's a reel posted on my Instagram for anybody that wants to go and check that out on the brief philosophy behind it. I did get it from Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
He wrote an article, or he was interviewed for an article a while back talking about how one of his best hitting coaches simply gave him the cue of just like be sexy in the box.
Yeah.
Like when you go up there, you have to literally think like smooth, efficient, being able to just see ball, hit ball, and allowing for your work and your training to take care of everything, and the skill set just happens. And I think for someone as cerebral as a pitcher, some more than others, just distilling your mindset and your approach down to something simple like that has so much more value than where your back foot positioning is, or where you're holding your glove, or your sight lines, or the counter rotation, or the way that you're holding energy over the backside, or any of these things. And so being able to just do that and just like saying like, I'm just going to be sexy today. And I get messages from guys all the time. It's like the only cue I had was be sexy, went out, had 4 innings, 6 punchies, or I felt the best I ever did. And I just thought about being smooth and, being silky and all of these things. And so it's really, there's not a ton of complexity behind it. I wish there was, but that's the whole idea is like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I was able to sit here and tell you like talking for an hour about what be sexy means, I don't think that'd be kind of counterintuitive to the entire idea behind it,
Right. No, I think that's the most important mental shift, in my opinion, a player goes through is kind of the idea of be sexy. I had a coach, the travel coach I referred to earlier, when we were in high school, like they would always call it like the it factor for guys. Like he has it. And it's like, what are you talking about? Not even just like, I don't know. It's easy to look at a guy who's really good and be like, he just has that it factor. But he's referring to like, we had like an infielder on our team who like wasn't necessarily the biggest, the strongest, didn't really hit the best, like didn't have a bazooka, but he'd be like, he has it. And it's like, you look every weekend and he's at the top of the average leaderboard. He's like stealing bags. He's like having the most fun out of anyone. And it's like, that's his it. And I remember in my head, I'm like, I gotta find my it. Like, who am I? It's about being authentic to you, which I think you say in the reel too. It's like, if more people were authentically themselves, I think we would just have a better world overall, and definitely better athletes. I think because again, if you put yourself in a box where you feel like you have to feel certain emotions or act in certain ways, and you're not really being your true self, that kind of limits the skill set that you're able to put forward and present.
Yeah. It's one of those things that more guys, I think, need to step out of their own way when it comes to like, okay, I need to be a stoic, or I need to be, I really like Paul Skeens and he doesn't ever show emotion, so I'm never going to show emotion. Yeah. Or like, I like this guy, and so I'm going to show a ton of emotion even though I'm not as extroverted as other people. It's like, I didn't have that realization until I turned 26, and I realized that like the unique thing that I have is my ability to just be different and post funny reels and act and be a little bit of a thespian here and there, And when I stand up in the first meeting, like the first team meeting at college, and my fun fact is the fact that I'm a theater minor, and I get some pushback on that.
That's sick.
As an 18-year-old, like I'm like, oh, this is gonna crush. People are gonna love this, And then your entire team is making fun of you for being the theater guy, Troy Bolton, whatever. And so I look back at that because like I stopped being a theater minor after my first year of college, and looking back, I'm like, what opportunities could I have potentially missed out on if I did pursue that a little bit more? Yeah. But because I put so many of my chips into like the baseball side, and just pushed that off completely, and so much of my identity there. Yeah. That eventually like it became my downfall that I had to rebuild after the fact, which I'm currently in the process of, like, brand building and everything that I'm doing now. But at the same time, it's like, you have to be yourself. Like, you have to, it doesn't matter what it is. First off, just from like a mental clarity and mental health perspective, like you need to have
Yeah.
interests outside of baseball because
Big
it
time.
literally is a game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It is a way to fill hours, and there's a lot of value in it outside of just like the physical aspect. But at the same time, it's like you do not want to identify as the baseball player. You want to be, to a certain degree, like a Renaissance man. You want to be someone who is well-rounded, who can do a lot of different things very well, because it's going to give you opportunities on the back end. But it's also going to allow for you to, like, when you step onto the field, just enjoy it, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, and you realize that when you stop playing and you do
Big
step
time.
into, you know, I have friends that are former baseball players. That Adam Moreau, who's he started the Flex Pro Grip, the dynamometer company, or I don't want to call it a dynamometer. I apologize, Adam, but it's a very unique and revolutionary device for arm care and
Yeah.
health of pitchers' elbows. But like, he does hurling. Like, who
Yeah.
the hell plays hurling in the United States besides Adam? And like,
Yeah.
there's a whole community down here in the Low Country where we live. Like, they play tournaments. There's a league. There's all this stuff, and like, he loves it because he spends all day talking about freaking baseball, and it's the sport that we spent so much of our time, you and I both, like putting so much time and effort into,
Yeah.
that when you do that, your only focus is to like have fun and just like learn more about the sport and play well and just improve, because
Right.
you don't stake your identity as like a hurling player. It's just something you do. That's me. That's tennis for me right now. The second I stepped on the tennis court and was able to hit a two-hand backhand up the line, I was like, this is great, because like, I don't care if I landed that shot or not.
Right.
I just want to be able to like practice enough to where I can go and hit that and like beat other people and sweat and be physical and like have a challenge every single day. You know, it's not like I'm trying to like go and play Alcaraz in center. And after watching that match last night, I want no part of either one of them. But like, it's just like, it's a new interest and it's fun. It's enjoyable. And it's like not something that I have to like make a career out of, or, you know, make it my entire personality. So I could ramble on and on about it, but those are kind of like the main takeaways there.
No, I almost feel like that all kind of embodies the be sexy mentality also, because it's like, you're going out and playing tennis, and then it's like, okay, well, these kids might have another hobby outside of baseball, which again, like I wish myself that I could have dove into different things outside of baseball a little bit more than I did. Like, just, I didn't even, you know, I was of the belief at the time of like, the blinders are on and this is the only thing you should focus on. When you go home, like, you should be thinking about this. You should be like watching videos on how you can like make your mechanics more clean, or, you know, any of the buzzwords that you like to throw at yourself when you're in college.
Right.
Like, so having something that really would have helped detach, and like, I had my girlfriend, which was fantastic. And I think, you know, spending the time with her and building that relationship obviously was amazing. And like, the most important thing in my life, obviously, she became my wife, and now, you know, we're going to be parents shortly. But
Yes.
I just think like, when you're so engulfed in baseball, the sport, and that's all you think about, that's all you do, it becomes a job. And even if you love it so much, it becomes something that you almost dread on the day-to-day basis, you know? And I was working with a pitcher, and, you know, we were going over kind of what his schedule was looking like week to week. And he was just, you know, every day it seemed like he was trying to fill time with things that are going to help him get better. And I was like, I have something we should implement. One day out of the week, you're going to do nothing baseball related, nothing. Like, what do you like to do? Do you like to go fish? Go fish. Do you like to play video games? Play video games that day. Like, I don't care. Do anything else besides play baseball or work towards baseball that day. Just clear the head and let everything else just kind of take care of itself. But I think that's definitely something I wish I implemented a lot more. Just like having another hobby outside of baseball that like you're passionate about, that you can kind of look forward to and kind of decompress with.
Yeah. And I resonate with guys to where like I tell them, as a single guy whose career's over, to like go take a day off and play golf, because like I remember being in the thick of a season and struggling and rewatching game highlights and rewatching at bats, and people being like, dude, you just got to like relax. Or like my mom telling me like, go hit golf balls. And I'm just like, are you crazy?
Yeah. Are you
like,
crazy?
I'm hitting my weight right now, and you're telling me to like go to the driving range to figure it out. And like, that stuff does work, but it's very, very hard to see when you are in the thick of it. And it's like, you know, you just went 0 for 5 with 4 Ks. You don't know if your name's going to be in the lineup or where it's going to be in the lineup or frankly, if they're going to tell you to turn your jersey in the next day, but like you got to come out the next day and try and turn the tides a little bit.
Of course.
It's very, very hard to have that perspective. And so I do resonate with guys. But I think that that's also an important note for guys that might be having that success, to where like that's where the feedback loop, I want to come back to that, to where like the guys that are performing well, they need to pull those guys up, and they need to have the confidence and the ability to not see it as like the rah, you know, kid on the bus, to where it's like, guys, coach is right, you know, like it's like, no, like you are like during the times and true brotherhood and true like truly great teams, even if you aren't the most vocal guy, like the guys that are performing well, they are required to a certain degree to like pull up the guys that might be struggling at points,
right?
And say like,
Definitely.
dude, we need you, or like get your head out of your ass. Like, you know, it might be something as simple as that, to where it's like, and not even in a sense of like you need to play better. It's like, you are a great player. Like, why can you not see that? Why can you not realize that? Like, I understand like you might have had one bad game, but that does not identify you, and you do not identify as a bad player based on a 3-hour time block out of the however many hours are in the freaking week. Because we've seen it time and time again. A guy will go for 5 one night, the next night he's 4 for 5 with 3 bombs, you know?
Right.
And so that's a requirement for great teams and great players, as well as being able to pour back into other guys. Because eventually it's going to flip to where it's like that guy's going to be playing like crap, and that guy needs to pour into that guy too.
Right. No, definitely. I think the best teammates I've had weren't necessarily the best players, but it's the guys that same thing. Like, they'll pick you up when you need it, right? They'll be like, yo, let's figure this out. What's going on? Like, you are a stud. And I think that's a great perspective. Like, this 3-hour window where you did not perform at your peak does not mean that you are a bad baseball player, right? Like, that's such a small sample size in what you have shown and the work that you've put in. It's almost like disrespecting yourself to think, oh, I'm a bad baseball player now, when it's like, look at all of this proof that you've showed throughout this time that is not a factual statement, you know? And I feel like almost like the overworking culture, like this, you know, like you kind of said, the kind of David Goggins mindset where it's like every single thing that I do should be geared towards getting better at my sport that I want to play. Like, I feel like that comes from an insecurity in yourself that you're not where you want to be, if that makes sense, right? It's like, I always need to be doing something, where, I don't know if you watched Quarterbacks, the show, like this past season, Jared Goff was talking about like they had an off day. It was like their only off day in like camp. Yeah. And his family and wife were like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, we should do this, we should do that. And he's like, I am doing nothing. Like, sit here and just relax and like enjoy being together and watch like a movie maybe. And I think there's value in that, where it's like a quarterback for the Detroit Lions, a team that went to like the NFC Championship 2 years ago, a guy who's had an extremely successful career. When he gets the day off, he's taking the day off. It's not like I'm going to study the playbook and do all these different things. It's like, I'm going to take advantage of this time where I can decompress and kind of get back to zero, you know?
Yeah, presence is fleeting in today's age, and it's something that I really try to emphasize with the athletes that I work with my family as well, with myself. And it's hard. It's really hard when you have screens around you all the time, blue light all over the place. There is constant stimuli around food and entertainment and gambling and just like everything, you know? Presence is something that's being lost in our generation. And I think that presence stretches beyond just like conversations or whatever you're currently doing at the time. I think it also relates to like recovery or your work. Like you might think for a second that you're like not working, but then I'm not scapegoating you here, but like, you know, we're doing a podcast here, and I've had this problem with Discord before, but like you got the email notifications going off in the background, right? Like I made the point to where like I've done this before to where I've had like Discord notifications going off, or like I'm having a conversation with someone, I have phone notifications off. So it's like, how much presence am I actually having there? And I will say you're incredibly present right now. So that was just like an example in my mind.
No. Yeah.
Again, like not scapegoating you at all.
Of course.
But like, you know, when I'm having a meal, like no phone, no laptop, like I don't need a YouTube video. I don't need a podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe like maybe some jazz music in the background if it's something really extravagant, you know? Like when I'm eating a meal with my family, the one thing that started to really drive me crazy was like, why do we need to have the TV on? Or like, why do we need to eat in front of the TV?
Right.
You know, like what, like eating in front of the TV or in front of video, you're just like shoveling food down your throat. Like, are you even like present with the nutrients that you're receiving? Like, where did the food come from?
Right.
What are you eating? You know,
Yeah.
like how is it providing energy and value to your life? Or like if you are like watching a movie with your family, or you're playing a game, or like you are taking a day off, like do you have your work notifications on? Like, are you thinking about work? Are you taking work phone calls? Are you talking about work? I can remember one instance. This is the last thing I'll say on this. It was a weekend. This is when I was living in Charlotte, working at Tread, and me and two of my coworkers and their girlfriends, we all went to dinner somewhere. And it was 2.5 hours. And I think the two girlfriends, the two significant others at the time, they were having like their own kind of side conversations, but it was so difficult for them to talk about anything because me and the two other guys were sitting there and, pardon my French, bitching about work for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
And after we got up, after we paid the tab, we got up and we were just like, we literally did not talk about anything other than work the entire time.
Right.
And it was a very, very somber, sobering moment for myself.
Yeah.
To be like, is that all I'm here for? Like my family, I left all my family, my friends to work this dream job, but it's like the only thing that I identify with. And so it's just like, we're right back where we started, you know, like, oh, you started your coaching career. You're going to build an identity outside of the game and outside of your training and everything like that. And you're right back where you started. And so to your point, you know, the earlier that you can find those outside interests or those outlets or that ability to like actually decompress and actually recover and be present with like your recovery or the things you're doing outside of like your identity or your work or whatever, there is going to be a positive feedback loop that comes from that. To where it's like, then you have more energy to do this thing, more energy to do this thing, and you can go 100% because you're fully in here, instead of being like 60% here, 40% here, 10% here, 30% here, 40% there. You know, it's just like the lines get way too blurry and too thick.
Definitely. No, I think that's definitely something I can continue to improve on just in my, you know, daily life. Same thing, like getting work done. It's like, oh, I'm going to throw a podcast on in the background. It's like, no wonder you can't focus. You know what I mean? You're just drowning your brain out with all these different, you know, stimulants that you don't need at that moment. And no, I think, you know, it's really valuable to identify that and be able to make the changes to do that. But you made a comment, which I think is really important. And I'd love to hear your perspective on I guess in your shoes, right? Your identity shift from player to coach. What did that look like? Because you made a reference to like, I'm creating this identity of, you know, making a name in the game and becoming a coach, like outside of actually being the athlete. What did that look like for you? Because I know a lot of guys struggled with that at first and maybe like found it difficult to become a coach after being a player. Like, what did that look like for you?
One thing that I've started to really dive into is like lifestyle design and finding the unique design for what is going to allow for you to operate the best. And for college athletes, you kind of have to mold into a system that might not be conducive for you. And lucky enough for me, it was just like I really enjoyed the schedule of waking up early, training, then going to breakfast, then going to class, then going to practice, then going to dinner, then going home to do homework, and then going to sleep and doing it all over again. I just loved that process. I really did.
Yeah.
I was not as sort of adapted or not as like interested in being up until 2 a.m. 3 nights out of the week and, you know, participating in specific debauchery. Like, would I do that? Absolutely. Did I enjoy it? Sure, on occasion, but like I did not make that, again, my entire identity. You know, it was something that I did supplementary that then allowed for me to sort of like clean the pipes per se.
Yeah.
And like give myself the opportunity to say like, like maybe I can break this feedback loop and just kind of like see how it affects things. And just see how it affects like my mentals. Like, do I sleep a little bit better when I maybe like get a little bit less sleep this night because I'm able to decompress finally and like step away from everything.
Yes.
But it's funny because the transitionary period and the thing that I have found worked best for me is basically designing my day around like an athlete's schedule. And like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very big on like even post playing career, even if you weren't an athlete, kind of designing your day like that. So like
Yes.
waking up, getting some movement in, getting some training in, then getting into like a work block for the day, you know, whatever time that is, like 3 to 4 hours. Then having like an afternoon session, you get outside, you get into the sunshine. Maybe you do something skill based. It doesn't even have to be physical. Maybe it's playing guitar, or maybe it's working on, I don't know, a garden, you know,
Yeah.
like whatever it
Yeah.
is, like something that is a skill that you can just like, that requires your full attention, right? Outside of your work. And then you have another, you know, afternoon sort of evening block. And then you have the ability to make and have dinner with your wife or your girlfriend, or take the dog for a walk, you know, spend time with family, watch a TV show, play a board game, whatever. And then you wind down with anything else that you need to take care of before the evening, and you get to bed early and you sleep well, and then you're able to wake up and do it all over again. We are creatures of habit. We
Yeah.
are creatures that, you know, require some sense of synchronicity within our days. Like we don't like chaos. And I've unfortunately seen the bad side of that from like a health and just like a mental perspective, to where it's like, if you try and compress too many things in your day and you don't have like a structured plan, you're literally going to be sitting at your schedule, like on your notepad, and being like, oh, well, what time can I go to the grocery store to pick up beef?
Right.
You know, and it's like, it's occupying 30 minutes out of your day just to like literally figure out the most arbitrary, simple task.
Right.
And so transitioning from like athlete into coach, I just treat what I'm doing now kind of like in an athletic sense, and like being fully present. And so like a big part of that is like ideation and content creation, which are two of the big things that I obviously like doing.
Yeah.
So it's like when I notice that I have too much of that stimuli coming in, I don't produce my best content. So like I try to eliminate TV. Like I don't have a TV. I have whiteboards all over the place. I have a stack of notebooks here that I literally just write things down on all day. I have a notepad next to my bed. I have, you know, I don't bring my phone on walks or runs or anything like that, and I just carry a notepad. So like adapting a little bit more of an analog lifestyle around that. And it's all in the pursuit of getting better at the skill of like ideation and content creation and making things more efficient. And I think that for athletes, they just lack that presence so much, to where like when they're working out, they have to be listening to music or a podcast, or they have to be on their phone, or they have to have other people there. They can't train on their own. They can't be deliberate in their practice of what they're trying to do. And so therefore, the skill set that they're trying to build suffers.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would really implore people to do, is like find that presence within the training side of things. And when you're doing that, do it 100% and eliminate outside distractions. And when you're doing anything else, do that 100% too.
Yeah.
So like when you're having a meal with your teammates, like be present with your teammates, have conversation. Don't be scrolling on TikTok. Or if you're doing homework, like do your freaking homework, and you could probably bang it out in a half hour instead of 2.5 hours and being like, oh, this project's due next week.
Yep.
How am I going to get it done? You know? So hopefully that hammers the point home a little bit.
No, I think that was perfect. That was gospel to me. Just hearing like being extremely intentional with your scheduling and your processes, and understanding like each of these pieces of the puzzle have like a significant impact on how you operate and move day to day. Like you said, taking it from the athlete's lens, like you lifted at 5 o'clock in the morning because you had to. And now if it is of importance to you and it's at the top of your priority list to be in shape, to continue to train for whatever you're training for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to implement a same level of schedule into your program if you're working a 9 to 5 or you're not, right? Like whether you're still playing the game of baseball or you're outside of the game of baseball. But you made a really good point about like your creativity. And I think, you know, from a viewer's lens, right, looking at you and kind of being in the baseball world and you know, being a pitching guy and working with athletes, like I think you do a really good job at coming up with creative solutions and drills and cues for guys. Like, where do you think that stems from? Has that something that you've always kind of had, or is it something that now you've kind of nourished a little bit more and tried to let it like come out and prosper?
First off, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that
Of course.
very much. I think that it is a byproduct of just my wacky brain and like being sort of like that acting thespian sort of background, but also having a very vested interest in physicality and training and like sports performance.
Yeah.
There are some guys that I think have that similar archetype,
Yeah.
but I think it's very limited to where it's either like you're going to be the goofy, funny Savannah Banana guy, or you're going to be like the coach that provides in-depth information and is basically a catalog for
Yeah.
dictionary-esque terms that
Right.
nobody else can understand besides yourself that you can apply to athletes, you know?
Right. Right.
And so I was kind of in that middle ground to where it's like, I like both of these things, you know, like I like the information. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be able to recite an entire study or
Of
the
course.
mechanisms behind it. I'm
Yeah.
also probably not going to be the guy that is, you know, dancing on TikTok nonstop, maybe
Right.
every once in a while, you know. But if I can blend those two things together, then I could probably provide some digestible information that actually helps guys get better. And up
Yes.
to this point, like until it and I kind of take the McAfee approach where I'm like, I don't know why this is working, but it's working, so I'm just gonna keep doing it, you know.
Yeah.
And so until it proves that it's not working, I'm just going to continue to do that and take that same approach because it brings in a very unique individual to work with me.
Yes.
And I'm not for everyone. I recognize that, but I also use the 33% rule, if you're familiar with that, to where it's like 33% of the people are going to absolutely love you.
Yeah.
33% of people are going to be in the middle ground. 33% of the people are going to hate you. And so even to the people that hate me, I appreciate you because you're a part of the 33% rule. But that's where I really find a lot of the solutions is just like, again, being fully present of what I'm doing. If I'm throwing the ball with my dog, I'm throwing the ball with my dog. I'm not listening to a podcast. I'm not listening to a whatever. I'm just watching the sunrise. I'm touching grass. I'm touching the earth. And I'm just like, like my arm action feels pretty good when I do that. You know, like that actually feels pretty good. Like I don't feel like I'm extending off my back leg. I'm rotating a little bit. Like I have a couple guys that are kind of struggling with that. Or, like when I'm holding my arm here, or if I'm holding my glove side here, like, you know, if I reach across my cabinet to grab a pan and I'm like pronating and internally rotating my shoulder, like why would I not just start with my glove side there? You know, stuff like that. And so it's literally the kid, and credit to my sister Kara, who hopefully will listen to this. But like I posted that video of her student who is from Japan originally, just like dry repping in the classroom, and Rob Friedman picked it up and it got a ton of traction.
Yes.
And she got kind of cold feet about it, and so I ended up actually having to take it down, unfortunately, because for a lot of reasons, you know, fifth grade, and
of course
you just got to be careful with social media, right? Like even if there's no harm done at all, it's a very valuable thing. And
of course
that kid actually got some cool stuff from the Dodgers they sent to him.
That's awesome.
So it ended up working out, and Rob Friedman sent him some pitching ninja stuff. So thanks, Rob. But yeah, it's literally just like, it goes back to the presence thing, I think, because like when you actually are able to look up from your devices, from the distractions that plague us day by day, you are able to find so many of these things. You're able to find like so many of these like unique little quirky things throughout the day that happen. That could be a new exercise, a new drill, a new cue, a new phrase that helps a guy get out of a rut, you know? But because there are so many of those distractions in our day today, and there's so few people, I think, that are able to effectively eliminate those. And I'm not saying that I'm the apex of this. You know, I get distracted all the time. I've got the screens, I've got the phones, you know, I've got everything. I'm thinking about the dinner I'm going to make here soon, you know? And so it's like those things don't escape me either. But it's the effort of trying to eliminate those things as best as possible that allows for you to get more of those in return. And so I think that the more that people can focus on that presence and just like really giving themselves the opportunity to think for themselves rather than having thoughts provided to them, that's where a lot of those solutions come from.
No, definitely. I think I could have a whole nother episode of me just picking your brain on those creative ideas, because I really do appreciate it.
Let's do it, man. Well, hey, why not?
That.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you on, and we'll go back and forth on a bunch of those, because that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I think now would be a perfect time. We're going to kind of blend in the last part of the podcast, which is our Fast Five segment. So I'm going to have 5 quick questions, kind of rapid fire, and then you're just going to give me the first answer that kind of comes off the top of your head. It can be as long or as short as you want.
All right.
Ball's in your court. But
sweet.
First question. What part of your identity did sports help you discover?
These are rapid fire? Oh my gosh, dude. What part of my identity did sports help me to discover? Charisma.
Love it. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, just from an outsider looking in.
Thank you.
Looking back, what moment in athletics felt like the end for you, but ended up kind of being a new beginning in your journey?
Uh, ooh, I'm gonna say adopting my dog Eli.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
unique answer, which probably is not a quick is not a quick hitter answer, but that's what I'm gonna say. That was the next step.
Listen, I got two dogs. I'm a huge dog guy, so
But yeah,
I vibe with that 100%.
he's the man.
When everything around you is chaotic, what's one mental habit that kind of brings you back to center? It doesn't even need to be a mental habit. What's one thing that kind of helps you get back to center?
Darn, that would have been a good Eli answer.
You can go back to that.
Calling my family.
That's great.
Hmm.
That's very valuable.
Thank you.
Fourth, what belief about yourself did you have to unlearn in order to grow as an athlete or person or coach?
What belief about myself did I had to unlearn in
Basically,
order to
like a
grow?
limiting belief that we talked about before.
Um, Confidence in my skill set.
Okay.
I had to essentially ditch what I thought was a unique skill set of mine in
Yeah.
pursuit of another one.
Okay. No, that's great. I like that. And then last question, what does success feel like to you now, and how has that changed since you kind of started throughout this?
Success to me now looks like time. Before it might have been financially or prosperity in tangible things.
Yeah,
Now it is time and its presence and its energy as well. And I think that those three things are very much intertwined.
definitely. No, I think that's huge. I think a lot of people as you get older agree with that more and more. I think that
Hmm.
that sentiment's really valuable. But
Hmm.
Jack, I really appreciate you coming on. I really think we can have you on for another episode at some point because we
Yeah.
could talk for hours. I really appreciate your time coming on and sharing all your perspectives and insights in your journey. And I really think this is a valuable episode for any young athlete who's trying to come up and kind of understand like the mindset behind becoming a high performer. And I really think you did a good job at explaining kind of your process and everything that you've been through and kind of how you take your approach to coaching. So I really appreciate you coming on, man. It was great.
Yeah. Thank you so much too. I enjoyed the heck out of this. And so I'm looking forward for the next iteration here. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right,
Well,
Jack. I appreciate it and we'll see you soon.
thank you.
All right.